So the conversation today is on innovative versus iconic and the modern challenge for meaningful messaging. And out here, we're going to talk about what are the opportunities that are available and what can we look at going forward. I'm going to talk about and showcase a screen, a slide immediately. This is not working. The green one, yeah. Oh, yeah, sorry. A slide which has just been shown, which spoke about two of the most iconic sites which are there present on the planet. One is your Times Square, and the other is at Piccadilly Circus. And there are a few numbers present on them. And the whole idea, whenever we talk about iconic, these two sites definitely come in mind. The numbers that are represented here kind of talk about the history and the story behind these two sites. These two sites came into existence in the year 1908. These two sites have had Coca-Cola on them for a long period of time. In fact, Coca-Cola took up the Times Square site in 1920 and took up the Piccadilly Circus site in 1954. Coca-Cola is a US-based brand. And by 2017, they all became digital. So one critical aspect that I want to kind of bring across is despite being iconic, they constantly reinvented themselves with the times. Moving forward to kind of further elaborate on this point and to have a look at this, I'd like to show you this video. A lot of you would have seen this video in place. It's a robotic version of it where the messaging is kind of able to stand out. This has been done on the Times Square. But once again, the whole idea is that despite being iconic, there is an important requirement to keep reinventing yourself. So therefore, if I were to reword the entire topic that we are conversing on today, it's not about versus, but it's about and. So what can we do together to make more meaningful conversations? India is currently a land of opportunity, and we can see that all around us. There is a huge amount of infrastructure development that has currently taken place. If you were to take, basic maths, there are over 120 plus airports which are present. There are over 15 cities which have metro trains. There is a constant plethora in terms of information regarding new roads being constructed. Huge amount of opportunities happening. So the whole idea is how can we leverage that and create something that is more meaningful in terms of conversation. So my whole idea is very simple. And I wanted to in fact start the conversation that if you guys are able to, if I'm able to hold your attention for the first 5 minutes also, that's great. If I'm able to, have your attention for the entire period, I'm really grateful. If we're able to take back 2 points, from the entire conversation that I've had with you for 15 minutes, wow. And if you're able to implement something from this, truly honored. So that's kind of the way in which I'd like to structure it. So if you were to look at the opportunities, I kind of broke them down into 3 specific groups. One is from a creative perspective, the second is from a format perspective, and the third is from an experiential perspective. There are many different other methods and combinations which are possible, but for the sake of simplicity and 15 minutes, I think this is kind of makes initial sense for the conversation. So if we look at, and this has been alluded to even in the previous talks that have taken place, one important aspect is to build contextual coherence. And this is some of the recent campaigns that we have done for Zomato, where we've literally taken the conversation that's present there, be it in terms of ye aag laga dega, or we talk about, hila dega. So we've actually taken those words and done a creative adjustment to the site itself. To the other range of building place-based relevance. So this was done at the Wagah border, once again showcasing the whole idea of nationalism and bringing the brand together with it. And this, the last one, was very interesting. This was something that has been practiced from time immemorial and out of home. Guerrilla marketing, right? You have a site, you take something beside it. But the interesting thing here was the whole story of both these brands being together did not detract one from the other, but they added together. So what was the end result? The end result was that this particular campaign went extremely viral with a third brand being put in, saying that hum ye bhi denge aapko. So that's the whole idea, that you create 1 + 1 is not equal to 2, but it can be equal to 11. If we look at the next sense, we look at some format innovations. And this is another example of the plethora of different media formats that are present across our metros. In fact, last count that we did across Mumbai, there are some 68 different media formats. These are some of them that we had used in a recent campaign. There is a huge opportunity to look at individual media formats and therefore drive meaningful conversations, which we are trying to do. And to create meaningful conversations, there is also DOH, right? DOH, very interesting, a lot of different opportunities come into play. There are interestingly some screens which are present, and not a lot, a few of the screens which are L-shaped, right? Which give the opportunity where you can create something beyond the usual 2D advertising. So I'll just play this video. This is something that we're extremely proud of. We did this after a lot of testing, and this is at the Garuda Mall in Bangalore. We can have a bit of the music if that's okay. So this screen always existed, this L-shaped screen. But the whole idea was to take that and create something, which is once again the initial concept which I talked about, which is 1 + 1 is not equal to 2, but equal to 11, where we created a 3D concept out of something that was existent. The fact of the matter is that there is another converse to this point, and the fact is that as per PwC, India is transitioning to digital out-of-home faster than many of the mature markets. And the fact is that a lot of these screens are simple, regular DOH screens. So what can we do for those? I mean, not everything is an L-shaped screen, right? So very recently, we came up with this. This has been executed in Mumbai, by the way. Once again, to create the whole idea of depth perception on a regular 2D screen as well, on roadside. Then there are many other opportunities as well, which a lot of people, I think, will talk about it tomorrow. The buzzword, which is programmatic digital out-of-home, and the whole idea of creating trigger-based campaigns. So these two examples come in from two mobile phone brands. They were run on DV360, and the whole idea was to talk about, in the first case, the fast charging capability of that particular phone. So the insight that we drew on was that before people board their flights, especially in an airport environment, they tend to just top up a bit of the charge that's there on the phone. So that's a great place to talk about a quick charging phone, right? So that's a great insight which works. So therefore, we also identified what were those phones, you can get phone usage data, right, around those particular screens, which could possibly upgrade to the advertised mobile phone. So whenever those numbers increased around those particular digital out-of-home sites, they would serve the ad. So the trigger-based mechanism came into play. Similarly, this was done for another mobile phone brand, where around the stores, 2-kilometer radius, geolocated, geofenced location around the particular sites, the ads were played basis the audience who carried a particular phone which could look at upgrading to this particular phone. So, a phone that's maybe 3 to 4 years old, 2 years plus also possibly, particular brands, particular price points, which would look at upgrading. And now we come to the final bit, which is in terms of creating the experience. And this is something, honestly, that we have not seen a lot of, but I believe there is strong potential. And that's that nebulous QR code. A QR code we've done some testing on it, and we figured that QR codes can be scanned on billboards, on bus queue shelters, at a great distance as well, and it works. The whole idea is that thanks to this QR code, you can actually create a whole journey starting from the out-of-home billboard, which can actually end up translating into a final point of sale. This is something that's an opportunity that a lot of us could explore. And once again, what we spoke about initially in the initial talks that came in, where it's joining hands with the entire ecosystem of media that's present, right? And then the last but not the least, it's all about size. It's all about building bigness and creating immersivity at scale. And this is something that we executed last year for IPL. This was projected onto the Air India building beyond the regular out-of-home and kind of creates that sense of size and scale, which just makes the audience go, wow. So, like I mentioned at the beginning, right, if I'm able to leave 1 or 2 points that you could remember back and maybe utilize across, this is what I would say, in terms of building iconic and the fact that innovative go hand in hand. One is look at data-based insights. It's a very, very critical step. A lot of us focus on the site, forget about the audience, forget about what we are actually trying to achieve. So look at insights based on data. Go big. I mean, the whole idea of out-of-home is scale. I mean, that's where it lives. That's the part which makes out-of-home come alive. And remember the fact that it's a one-to-many medium. There are a lot of opportunities, for example, the QR code, which can take that one-to-many concept and yet personalize it for the individual who's seeing it on his mobile phone. We spoke initially about the Amul ads, for example. Think of long-term where possible, because it does make sense. Once again, long-term with big equals to a great campaign, but it's not always possible. So if that is not possible, then definitely go ahead and look for some creative, innovative solutions that can make it much larger. And last but not the least, be mindful of the variables. Unfortunately, India is quite an expansive land, and there are a lot of different regulations, a lot of different variables that you need to play with. Don't forget them, because they can come and bite you on the backside later. So keeping that in mind, and I think well in time, thank you so much. Thank you. Cheers. Pleasure.